I never used to believe in ghosts or curses or any of that nonsense people love to whisper about late at night. But after what happened to me one winter years ago, I can't ride a train without thinking about it. This is one of those stories that clings to you, that makes you second guess shadows in the window, the sound of wheels on rails. It was supposed to be a simple ride home, the last train of the night. It was close to midnight when I finally left work. The streets were wet with freezing drizzle, the lamps glowing in the mist. My boots slapped against the pavement as I hurried to the station. Normally I'd drive, but my car had broken down and I didn't have the cash for a taxi. When I stepped into the station, it was nearly empty. The woman at the ticket counter barely looked up, just muttered that the last train was leaving in a few minutes. I remember how cold it felt inside the station. It was colder than outside, and it was already pretty cold out there. I brushed it off, bought my ticket, and when the train rolled in, it screeched to a halt with a long metallic groan. The platform was deserted. No passengers, no staff, nothing. Just me stepping into the carriage. Inside, the train smelled old. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, buzzing in that sharp, irritating way. I picked the seat by the window, watched the darkness just slip by as we pulled out of the station. 10 minutes passed, then 20. I realised I hadn't seen a conductor or anyone come by to check my ticket. Curious, I stood up and moved forward, walking down the carriages. Each one I passed through was completely empty. No scattered newspapers, no bags, no passengers slumped in their seat after a long day. Just silence and that buzzing from the lights. That's when I noticed something strange. The train wasn't stopping. We should have hit at least 2 stations by now. But the doors never opened. The speed never slowed. It just kept going. I checked my phone. No signal, of course. Eventually I slid the door open to another carriage and froze. This one wasn't empty. About a dozen people sat scattered across the seats. But the way they sat, they didn't move, they didn't talk, they didn't even blink. Every single one of them facing forward, hands folded on their laps. Dead stare straight ahead. I tried to catch their attention, but not a single head turned. My footsteps echoed down the aisle as I moved past them. The air seemed colder with every step. They seemed pale, almost like wax figures. They had that bluish tinge to their lips, like they'd been pulled out of icy water. And yet, I swear, I saw their chest rise and fall just barely. I didn't sit down. I couldn't. I hurried through to the next carriage, and this one was empty again. I was breathing heavy. The panic was crawling up my throat. I pressed the emergency button. Nothing. Pulled at the doors, locked tight. The train just kept rushing forward into the night. No lights outside. No sign of town or crossings. Just blackness mile after mile. When I looked out the window, I caught sight of something reflecting in the glass. Not me, it wasn't my reflection, it was a figure standing behind me, just in the aisle. I spun around. Nothing. Nothing but the flickering light overhead. I sat down, my hands trembling, listening to the hum of the train, the squeal of metal. Time didn't feel real anymore. I kept checking my watch, but the hands never seemed to move. After what felt like forever, the train began to slow. My stomach flipped with relief. Through the window I saw platforms, stone pillars, rusted benches. The train screeched to a stop. The doors opened with a hiss. I stumbled out, gasping like I'd been underwater. But when I looked around, my relief turned to horror. The station was abandoned. The signs were faded and rusted. Weeds split the concrete. No lights glowed except for the flickering lamps on the platform. And then the passengers filing out of the train behind me, still silent, still pale. They moved in perfect unison, spreading out across the platform. One of them finally turned its head towards me, and for the first time, I saw just hollow, empty eyes. I bolted. I didn't stop until I saw headlights in the distance. My signal came back as I reached the road, and I rang my friend to pick me up. I kept walking until I found a 24-hour restaurant. I sat inside, just waiting. Later, when I tried to find that station again, I couldn't. Maps showed nothing but woods and empty tracks. I started digging into old railway archives, old newspapers, and I found something I wish I didn't find. Stories of a ghost train that roams the countryside. They say it carries the souls of people who were lost in train wrecks from decades ago, doomed to ride forever, occasionally picking up the living. Some say if you ever step aboard, you never really off it. You're just waiting your turn. Every time I board a train now, every time the doors slide shut, I can't help but wonder if this is the ride that never ends.